Canadian wine lovers, we are live with winemaker Marc Pistor, who's already in the green room from Marynissen. Carl Boucher, you taste thousands of Canadian wines every year. Tell us how you found this winery. What was our first?
Oh my God, this is such a great question. But first and foremost, Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, everyone across the country, from one ocean to another, from Nova Scotia all the way to Victoria, welcome, wine lovers. Wow, what a week. I mean, we're in a crazy phase here where we're doing a YouTube video every single week, every single day. And wow, there's wines everywhere here. And today we are featuring Marynissen, and so we're also going to talk about some of the wine about the collab group as well, because I have so many questions that I have for my friend Marc Pistor, which is a fantastic winemaker, and he has built such an incredible group, a collaborative group, and where they operate at Marynissen. So to answer your question, Mira, how do I found Marynissen? To be honest with you, it's from a BC, it's from an Okanagan winemakers, really, who really started to talk to me about Marynissen, and I had conversation with Marcel Morgenstern and Fabian Rice as well, people from Niagara-on-the-Lake. But this is Jeff Undermark, which is an incredible winemaker. He leads Mount Boucherie on the West Kelowna Wine Trail here in the Okanagan in Kelowna. And Jeff famously was a winemaker at Marynissen for years before he said, fuck it, I want to make some big and bold wine. I want to go to the Okanagan. And he finally took the helms of Mount Boucherie and Rust Wine Co. But Jeff proudly talk about Marynissen in such a glorious way. And we always joke because he always said, I had the privilege to make Cabernet Sauvignon from some of the oldest Cab Sauv vines in the country, because John Marynissen was famously known as the crazy cuckoo who planted Cab Sauv vines in Niagara, and people thought he was absolutely out of his mind. But Jeff always told me that it was such a privilege, such an honor to take these fruits and to make, according to him, some of the most terroir-oriented and beautiful grapes to make Cabernet Sauvignon from Niagara. So that's how I got really immersed into the Marynissen's culture. Culture is from Jeff Undermark, but after that, I made some research. I talked to people in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and everyone was telling me the same thing. You really, truly need to taste these wines, and from there, because Marc and I were talking about different other project of his, and I was tasting his Fogelor wine, and he was telling me about he was building the collab group, and he was operating at Marynissen. So now I had, like, everything unfolded. I had the privilege to taste the Platinum series, the Heritage collection, and all of the crazy wines that they do as well, because they're not only the same streamline, those classic wine, they also make some really fun stuff there. And the winemaker is super cool as well. So yeah, now that's a short answer to your awesome question, Mira. So yeah, and I know I know from you what really, really triggered you about Marynissen. It was that fun blend of Merlot Gewürztraminer that you tasted 2 or 3 years ago, and you were like, oh my God, I want to taste more of that winery. And
absolutely. Yeah. So we featured Marynissen, I think 4 years ago in 2021, when the club was still pretty young. If you're new here, we taste thousands of Canadian wines every year to bring you all the gems. And then we interview winemakers, just like we are now with Marc Pistor joining us in just a couple minutes here from Marynissen in Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario. And so that was in the early days of the club, and we featured Marynissen. And I do remember the standouts for me were the Nanny's Blend, their Cab Sauvs. I do remember I liked their Merlots. I love Merlot in general. And that that Cab Franc Gewurz, I mean, holy smokes, it's such a unique blend. And they've done it again this time. Oh, sorry,
That was
Merlot
Merlot Gewurz.
Yeah.
Merlot
And
Gewurz,
they've
I
done it
believe.
again. They did a Cab Franc Riesling, which we just tasted. That is phenomenal. And I love it because they also named it A, like Canadian A, because those varietals are so very amazing in Canada. Daryl's got Mythology Vineyard 2017 Syrah in the glass. 2017, I think, was a kick-ass year for BC Syrah, wasn't it?
Oh, I mean, we had some great experience. I remember like the Black Hills, actually. Black Hills 17 Syrah was one of my very favorite. Like I mentioned often, right? I remember being with the winemaker at Black Hills on a long Zoom call at some point, and we were talking about the roller coaster of 2017 vintage. Like some hot, some cold. It was really wonky in terms of vintage, but at the end, wines were coming out and more wines were evolving in barrels. And he keeps saying the same thing. Fuck, these wines are so good. These wines are better than we were expecting. So 17 was that sleeper vintage that now has been aging awesomely. And we tasted a 17 yesterday from Osoyoos, a 17 Cab Sauv yesterday on our YouTube daily live with the Lakeside Cellar. But yes, 17 has impressed me in many different bottles that we've tasted.
So fantastic. Yeah, so Marynissen, we already mentioned a little bit about the winery. They're in Niagara-on-the-Lake, which I'll show you guys the map in just a second here. It's kind of like a flatter part near the lake. And let's see here. We'll get the map. This is Lake Ontario, right? It's about an hour away from Toronto, and they are right on that right side. That's all pink and purple there.
Mira, an hour from Toronto, you had better be driving at 3 a.m.
Okay, maybe like traffic, 2 hours,
with a very fast car. Let's say an hour and 40 minutes if you go to Niagara on the lake, probably an hour and 40 minutes. But yeah, I know you like driving at night, so we're good with that. Good job.
Yeah, so they're on that right side there, right, Carl? To the right of St. Catharines on this map, where you see Niagara Lakeshore, Niagara on the Lake, Four Mile Creek.
Exactly.
That's the area they're in.
Exactly.
You can see from the picture of the street here near the winery, kind of a flatter terrain, and they planted the first Cab Sauv vines in Canada for a winery almost 50 years ago now. That's John and Inge Marynissen right there, who took the chance, believed in it at a time when some people were saying you can't even make any wine in Canada. They were like, no, we're going to make wine, and we're going to make Cab Sauv and Riesling and all the vinifera's, which now we know we can do at such a world-class level. But they were some of the first pioneers. So it's really exciting to see how that's played out now with their most recent releases and Meet the Winemaker. So
yeah, absolutely. You're bang on, Mira. And hey, for everyone who's tuning in, I want to know, where are you tuning from and what it's in your glass tonight? Because what it's in my glass, I mean, there's a little too, like there's a lot
of
glasses here. Like
we're getting older, so we need lots of glasses around us.
So Mike, the average enthusiast here, is saying this is a pioneer wine. Yes, absolutely, Mike. You are absolutely bang on. And now
and fantastic value. And on top of that, they've given us member pricing on these 3 bottles right here with up to $15 off until Monday. So these are great wines. You can see by the scores, like some fantastic scores here, but also phenomenal value. And I think you get that more and more with the wineries that are really well established like this. Like maybe they didn't have to buy the vineyard land, in the last 5 years when all the prices went crazy. And so I think you get such phenomenal value when you get with some of these pioneering wineries. And also they have that experience behind them too. It's exciting to learn.
Oh, I mean, the process, right? The process is all lined up. Like they have the process absolutely dialed down. So yes, you are absolutely correct. And also they absolutely knows the spot in the region where to buy the right grape, because these wineries are not always 100% estate fruits, right? They have purchased lands over the years, but also they know the source of fruits, where they're coming from, the fantastic quality, and they have long-term contract because they have long-term relationship. So yeah,
Very
here we
cool.
are
It looks
now.
like Daryl and Mike have read each other's minds yet again, and they both have BC Syrah open tonight. And guess what? It's very timely because we will be chatting a little bit about Syrah as well, but Ontario Syrah, right, Carl?
Absolutely. I am really thrilled about that, because one of the wine that really, really got my curiosity in the lineup is the Heritage Collection, the Cab Syrah, with the two cabs, Cab Sauv and Cab Franc, but mostly also, I believe you're at 30-something percent Syrah in there. So it's going to be fun to talk about that wine. I really like. And
Very
there's
fun.
the Heritage Shiraz as well.
Yes.
That I can't wait to ask Mark, why did they name it Shiraz on the bottle?
Why
So it's
Shiraz, not
interesting
Syrah?
conversation.
Yeah, so we got lots of questions. If you guys have questions, please put them in the chat. I know we've got the crew from Marynissen and Collab joining us on their page as well, so welcome. And let's bring in Marc Pistor. Marc's got tons of experience with Niagara wine, tons of experience with all the different sites, as you're saying, and so it's really exciting to have him on. Marc, hello.
Cheers. There we go. I gotta
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Awesome introduction too. I mean, really capturing what the history of Marynissen is, and I've been now at Marynissen since 2016, and I was the winemaker of record until 2020, when I had the opportunity to hand the reins over to Mitch McCurdy, who really drives a lot of these wines, but I can certainly speak to them. We work really closely together to make sure everything's coming out the way that we want it, right? So, I have more of an oversight role there and participate in the business from grape purchasing all the way through to sales and marketing. And it's been so exciting. And, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to work with such a historic winery, right? And unfortunately, the Cab Sauv vines had to come out. The last of the Cab Sauv vines had to come out a couple of years ago, just sort of too old, and the vineyard was a little bit too damaged. We pushed it as absolutely far as we could. So the 2023 Heritage Cab Sauv is like our last year that has about 50 or 60% of the old vines in it. And then after that, though, we're at 8 or 9 years old now in our replanting, and it's great because the site that we're on, as you're describing, that sort of flatter area in Niagara on the Lake ends up being very, very warm, and we're right next to the Niagara River sub-appellation, which is great for big reds, and we have really well drained soil.
That's is it a new sub-appellation? Yeah, no, it's there
Niagara
on the
River.
right side.
No. Niagara River is the horizontal one. But are you guys located on the 4 Mile Creek? Are you on the corner of 4 Mile Creek, right next to Niagara River?
We're right there. We're at the border. We're right at the border. Like across the street from us is Niagara River. So, we're sort of really hitting that right at the edge, and we're pretty central. So we don't have as much impact from the lake as well. So it keeps us a little bit warmer. But really the key, I think, is the soils, and we have really well-drained soils. There's a swath of land that runs through there, and the Bellaterra vineyards, and some great vineyards that we get from the openlanders that manage, like all the way right through to Trias, and then when you get to 4 Mile Creek, you get a little bit heavier clay. So we have this really, really sort of unique soil structure, as well as being really well placed with the river from a protection point of view, from warmth and getting wind movement, even though we don't get then we don't have the slope, which is often really, really important. But I think really important to mention that we don't get all of our fruit from our own site. So we work with some really amazing vineyards on both sides of St. Catharines, and we have the opportunity to make some great blends. And since I took over in 2016, what we've been doing is trying to pay homage to the roots of innovation, and like the Franc Riesling and some of our other wines that we've made. We've both pulled historical wines like the Nanny's Blend back into our our portfolio, but as well wanted to expand and push the limits as much as possible, and being really focused on retail sales for the first number of years. We've recently had some success through licensee channels and at the LCBO, but being really focused on retail, we've had to sort of innovate and make sure that we have really great quality wines across everyone's taste profiles. And it's been, it makes the job a little bit more challenging, but I've had the experience leading into taking over at Marynissen, and Mitchell just does an amazing job across the entire portfolio. So it's been great.
Marc, this is absolutely fantastic. And before we jump into the core, into the lineup here, the heart of our conversation, let's backtrack, because you took over in 2016. I want to know, are you a Niagara boy? Are you what's your background before you handed at Marynissen?
So I'm from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario originally, so Northern Ontario, right?
So the winemaker of Sault Ste. Marie, okay. Yeah. Hey, I'm a hockey boy, so I mean, I can relate to the junior team. So
yeah. So I started a degree in biology at the University of Ottawa, and wanted a summer job because I stayed there after my first year, and found a job at the Wine Rack, which is our at the time the only sort of non-LCBO place you can buy wine. Was either a wine rack or a wine shop, both owned by one owned by Peller, and the other one owned by, at the time, Vincor, but now known as Arterra.
Arterra, right?
And so I started at Wine Rack 2001. I was reading a magazine and saw a BSc in winemaking and grape growing, and honestly couldn't get it out of my mind. I just thought, I'm in school for a BSc. I wanted to do medicine, but didn't end up there. Sometimes I know happily because of what I ended up in, but it was a great experience working at the Wine Rack. I had an awesome manager, and was reading through a magazine, saw the BSc, and transferred the next year. So in 2002, landed at Brock University in enology and viticulture degree, and finished it up. It's a co-op program, so I had to work to earn my degree. And so I actually stayed working at Vincor for the entire time, mostly at the Wine Rack, then at Jackson Triggs, Niagara State in retail, and then went and did a summer in the vineyards with Vincor in the Okanagan Valley. And that was an amazing experience. I worked one harvest 2005 with Bruce Nicholson in Jackson Triggs, Okanagan Estate. And 2 years later, a year and a half later, Bruce actually moved back to Ontario, to Niagara, where he was from, and took over in Enniskillen, which honestly was his dream job. And I had finished my teacher's college degree and didn't have a job in the fall, and sent him an email and said, "Do you need any help for vintage?" And he said, "Yeah, get down here." So he tells the story a little differently, because I emailed him, said, "Hey, Mr. Nicholson, I'm not sure if you remember me." And he always makes fun of me about that. So I had an awesome opportunity working for one of Canada's greatest winemakers at the beginning of my career, and he had a lot of trust and faith in me. So, by 2009, I was assistant winemaker. In 2010, took the winemaking position at our large production facility in Niagara Falls for what was at the time Constellation.
Yeah.
And I worked there, went from crushing 1,500 tons of fruit to crushing 12 to 15,000 tons of fruit, and really gained a lot of experience.
A complete different world.
It was. And it was so important to, you sort of get an accelerated learning of what wines do when they're being made, and how to sort of approach both the wine business and winemaking overall in a different way. And, at the company at the time, Marco Piccoli and Thomas Batchelder, Sebastian Jacquet, Bruce, obviously, still there. Lubomir Popovic, he was my senior winemaker at the plant at the time. And you just sort of can't help but learn from guys that are that good at this. And by 2014, I thought, maybe I could do something else in the wine industry, maybe I wanted to use my teaching degree. So I left the company in 2014 and I started doing some consulting with Fred DeProfio. His parents, his dad and his wife had a winery in a small winery in Jordan called DeProfio Wines. And I spent that first summer actually taking care of the vines. And it was such a great way to sort of get back into.
Hey, Marc, I don't want to interrupt, but you know that Fred is one of the favorite personages.
I do. Eddie deserves to be.
Do you know that he just opened a wine bar in Niagara on the Lake?
Yeah, I've been there too many times already. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's a great place. We had a lot of our wines.
Tour live last week on the Zoom call here with some members. So
that's great. That's great.
That's awesome.
No,
sorry, keep going. I had to interrupt you.
Yeah,
here.
no, for sure. And that's what I was going to say. So I spent 5 or 6 years working with Fred at Bellaterra, was Pondview at the time, at DeProfio Wines, Dark Horse Estate Winery in Grand Bend, and Marynissen. So we sort of worked together as doing consulting in a bunch of different places, and it was a really great experience. A lot of challenges and a lot of learning, and I got to see the great wines that he was making at Bellaterra as well, and sort of that continued. So in 2020, we decided to sort of both go in sort of the same but slightly different directions. I wanted to do more of my own production with my virtual projects, like what ended up with Collab, and he ended up there actually very quickly afterwards, but didn't necessarily know it. So we had split that up. I kept Marynissen, and I was really excited to sort of maintain that work at Marynissen, and it's been a great experience. Being able to build out a brand, knowing that, as you guys mentioned, so much was already there in place before. So you want to pay homage and you want to move the business forward. So
that's an incredible progression. That's an incredible route. I love that story, Marc. Thanks for sharing that. Now I'm very curious, because you had the idea of collab, because now like 2020, the COVID time, and I mean, virtual winemaker were starting to pop up more and more and more, and we're starting like what Thomas was doing with sourcing grapes from different appellation, and like we saw that increasing, and your idea of collab, I mean, that's a little bit what it is, right? To bring some of the smaller guys who can source their fruits, whatever they want, bring them under one umbrella. And the key is to have the winemaking facility, and so everyone can be under the same roof and sharing knowledge, sharing equipment, sharing pretty much everything. So that's a little bit what collab was all about, right?
Yeah. So in 2015, I launched Fogelart Wines. And honestly, I wanted to make some of my own wines in a very small volume, just to sort of see if I can do it and learn what it takes to sell wines, which you guys do a great job of. Thank you very much. And sort of really be able to understand that side of the business. But the other goal, and this goal started in there was an initial conversation I had with Thomas Batchelder in I say 2008, maybe at a dinner at Jackson Triggs, and I started talking about that idea, and he said, yeah, there's the Winemaker studio in Oregon, and they're kind of the same idea. And I was, around the same time, people like Kevin Penagapka and with 2027 Cellars and Nairai Cellars, Steve Byfield, were the only sort of guys around doing that. And it was sort of, I thought, really exciting, and something that was useful for Niagara, because I knew so many talented individuals who can, if they put their name on a really great product, I just think it brings up the volume of what Ontario wines can be. And I just wanted to find a place, those the opportunities. So Fogelart allowed me it was work towards sort of proving to wineries that having someone else share your space was both beneficial for that individual and beneficial for the winery itself. And I really believe that from economics point of view, because in a lot of cases people weren't able to use their cellar to their fullest efficiency, and if there's other people that come in and rent that space, and that's a little bit of cash flow back in there, and that's where the concept sort of started for me. So I was looking for a home. I was at DeProfio Wines to start. I did a couple of years at Ridgepoint, because Morrow at Ridgepoint Wines is a great friend, and honestly a great member of this winemaking community. But eventually was able to convince ownership at Marynissen that this would be a worthwhile endeavor. So I was able to find a spot for people like Jeff Moot with Divergence Wines. Absolutely phenomenal wines, and the
rock star.
Yeah, and then and the Openlanders with their own sort of vineyards and vineyard management, they were able to. They wanted to come in and start, and I thought that was really, really exciting. Mitchell has his own brand, and friends of yours now with Horseshoe Cellars. We had an opportunity to bring them on very recently, and Battersea Wines, who's the brand manager at Marynissen. She's not a winemaker. She works with us to sort of have those come out, right? So different amounts of work in each of them. Sempre Mio Vineyards. He's, again, a super romantic guy. Him and his wife loved it in Niagara when they came to visit once. He goes, maybe I should buy a vineyard. And then he said, maybe I should start making some wines. And I couldn't talk him out of it. And he's making some exceptional, unique, and pushing the envelope both in the vineyard and in the winery. And this was, I can't be more excited about having sort of achieved this goal and have it sort of worked out.
And Mark, well. I just want to show, because that's what the collab can do for wine lover. And I just have Mike, the average wine enthusiast, here say he loves the Horseshoe Cellar Riesling. I mean, what I had the chance to do last week is to crack Horseshoe Cellar, which is from the Kelson block at Grimsby Hillside. And I realized, holy shit, you know what? Mark sent me is Grimsby Hillside a Riesling as well. So I have that. And you guys make these wines under the same roof from the same. Okay, you're maybe not from the Kelson block, but I mean, it's from that you guys are sharing source of grapes and producing your wine the way you envision them, and this is really cool for wine lover. And I just wanted to show that also. This wine absolutely blew my socks off. This is Grimsby Hillside. This is Frontier Block, which I'm a big fan from Thomas, and it's the first time that I taste Frontier Block from someone else. And Jeff Muth at Divergence absolutely crushed it. It's so fucking good.
I concur. It was really great.
Usually we don't go through the whole book. We don't, but this is like really
that was my fault there. Yeah, it's fascinating to taste that same vineyard, but with different winemakers and winemaking styles, right? Really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And when you talk to Jeff, he's taking an approach that's very similar to most of the people that work with that specific block and that specific fruit. And it still comes out a little bit different. His barrel choices, his harvest dates, the steps that we take, the minuscule steps that we take in the cellar, all having an impact. And even wines that we make beside each other, they come out completely differently. So it's just been a real awesome opportunity to learn and explore different areas of the Niagara Peninsula and different winemaking techniques, different winemaking approaches, and you could learn really, really quickly when we're doing this much stuff. I mean, it's obviously a little bit more or a lot of work to sort of learn that quickly, but it's been a great experience, and I think we've had a lot of successes. Like with the 2022 Riesling that you have in your pack, that was our first work with stabulation. And that's a process where you leave the juice on heavy juice solids for an extended period of time. The Black Label Platinum. The platinum.
What'd you call it?
Oh, the platinum. Okay. Oh, no. So that's a fascinating conversation. Well, I want to talk about that. That's why I told Judy, make sure you got Riesling, because we have the two, not the extreme, but first and foremost, you introduced me with Fogelar, that with the Picon vineyard, right? You were the first one that I knew, like always making single vineyard, Picon with the Riesling. And I started to get the wines from Marynissen. And at some point I said, oh, Picon vineyards got on the label. I'm like, this is really cool now. Like guys are sharing source of grapes, and I saw that collaboration getting to the next level. It's really, really cool. But let's talk about the Riesling, because that's what I wanted to talk about. With the 2020 vintage, no, the 2022, I mean, because this one is the other one.
Yeah. There it is.
Platinum series. This is bone dry. Yeah. Like you're at like 1 gram of residual sugar. And you go with the Picon vineyard, this one here, and you're at around 25 grams of residual sugar. The difference between these two wines cannot be more stated. Yeah. Both are fantastic, and it's just a Riesling experience there. So at the end of the day, Mike, because now Mitch makes both wine. It's Marynissen, so yeah, Mira got the both. I mean, personally, I'm a sucker for some softness in my Riesling, but I hear so much from consumer. Oh no, I can't. Like, there's lots of consumer are looking for the driest possible, and now you guys have the both here, like, side by side. It's so fascinating. So tell me a little bit of the approach here.
Okay, so my two loves are Cab Franc and Riesling. That's it, and that's what I make with Fogelar now. I'm strictly Cab Franc and Riesling. Occasionally I'll do something a little bit different, but what we wanted to do is play with stabulation in order to make a dry Riesling taste appropriate. I don't like dry Rieslings. Oftentimes I find that there's too much acidity there. You don't achieve balance. I love arrested Rieslings. The Rieslings of the Mosel were the ones that sort of really excited me, because at the time, 20 years ago in Niagara, very few were doing low alcohol, high residual sugar Rieslings. I can't explain why. And all I wanted to do was make them. And even when I worked for Vincor or Constellation, I would make them, and then we would present them to marketing, and then marketing be like, no, there's no room in the market for it, and whatever. And you say that people want dry Rieslings. So if I often open up with my Rieslings and say, there's 25 grams residual sugar, 28 is my number, but we go a little bit drier with Marynissen. They go, oh, no, I'm never going to like that. Then they try it, and it's balanced, right? All that acidity, all that richness, all that fruit, it sort of all works together. And it's not like you notice the sweetness. It's just a very integral part of what that wine is. And I like to make dry Rieslings if I can. I just often find that I can't achieve the balance that I want without some different work. And so in 2021, we started the project, and it worked out well enough to put a platinum down. But 2022 was my most exciting success, because this wine is full of acidity, but it's full of richness and tannin, and it's a really different expression of Riesling. So that process, Mira, was stabulation. And so what you do is, what we did was 22 is a combination of Piconi Vineyard and Hughes Vineyard. We pressed both juices into a tank. You quickly rack for your other fermentations. So within a couple of days, instead of waiting a week, and we don't let it settle super tight, the juice lees. And you quickly rack, so you have a little bit more juice in there. And then we combined those two vineyards together, and we held them on lees for another 10 or 12 days, until we were worried that maybe something was going to start naturally. We just needed to keep it as still as possible in a juice phase. We would mix it occasionally, and then at the end, you settle it as hard as you can. You rack that juice off. When the juice is allowed to stay in contact with those juice lees, the solids, they extract more polysaccharides and more mouthfeel and tannins, and that really fills out the wine. And so now that juice that we had, I thought we had an opportunity to really finish that dry. And so we went all the way right to the end.
And you mentioned something, Mark, if I can interrupt for 1 second, it's the texture, right? The lees. Usually when I get that bone dry Riesling, these ones are pretty often linear, super energetic, but lack of texture. What made me really like that wine, it's yes, it's austere. There's an austerity in that wine.
Yeah.
Mouth watering as crazy, but there's texture on the mid palate that it's totally like that was totally my tasting note. Like the texture was something impressive on that one.
And that's the goal. We have a 23 behind that one. This one's doing well, and I haven't tried it in a while. And when I opened it up, I was really excited to see how fresh and pure it's remained. It's not showing any development at this stage. I mean, it looks as young as the day that we put it into this bottle. It's really built for the long haul, and I think it's going to be an exciting wine for me in like 7-10 years, even when it starts to soften that austerity a little bit. I think we're going to get more fruit, and still it's going to have that texture, and that's the most exciting thing about it. So it's really successful. We did it again in 23. We haven't done it since 23. Even if you try that, sometimes it doesn't always work out, and we're not going to put anything into a bottle that we don't think achieves the desired style. But the other wine that we're talking about, the Piconi Vineyard 2024 Riesling, that's the style that I love. So we try to pick this below 19 bricks. We ferment it and then arrest the fermentation around 10% alcohol. And if you do all the calculations with those numbers, you normally end up somewhere between 20 and 26 grams per liter of residual sugar, depending on the start and the conversion of yeasts. And that balance point, man, it just does something for me. It's the most exciting Rieslings that I could have.
It does it for me and Mira as well. This is right in the wheelhouse of what we like. Soft, approachable, great balance. The acids still sustain and lift everything in there. There's nothing heavy and sweet. I mean, this is wonderful. And one thing also, and I mean, we're in the business of selling wine, and it's the price point. I mean, that price point for that quality, to me, that's what leads me to a 92 points, because I always keep half a point at least for the value proposition.
Wow.
And I will not score a wine if I don't know the price, because I truly believe that it's part of the equation. I mean, a wine can be good, but is it good $100 or is it good $20?
Yes.
Expectations are different, right?
Yep.
So at that price point, that's why I ended up at 92 points. This is an absolute beauty. Holy smoke. So 100% single vineyard Picon, right? It's all
yes.
only vineyard?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to lease the property and pay for the management, direct the grapes at Piconi. And so I've had the Cab Franc since 2014, the Riesling I started working with in 22. And I can't be more excited about working with that vineyard every year. Jeff's turned the North Block into a sparkling. Just in 23, I did a dry from the old vines. I did a partially botrytis affected, so it's 9% and 60 grams per liter of residual sugar. It is one of my favorite wines I've ever made. It's huge and it's balanced with all of that sweetness. It still holds up. And I made the North Block in my 9%, 30 gram style. And in 23, we also made the pretty much identical wine that you're trying right now. They all come from different parcels of the vineyards. They vary in age, but they vary in age now from 18 to 28. So it's you're getting quality all over the place. The management, everything's hand harvested, and sometimes we crush into stem and sometimes we whole cluster press, depending on sort of what we're looking for. If we crush the stem, we get an increase in tannins. And one thing that's really important in making a sweeter style Riesling is that you have a higher level of tannins to help with the balance and to really push the palate freshness. And loved making that wine, and was making it for Fogelar, and then saw the opportunity with Marynissen to maybe be a little higher in volume and maybe elevate the vineyard to where it deserves to stand, because it's an amazing sort of little 7 acres of perfection, right? So I keep most of the Cab Franc for myself. Derek Barnett from Melville has actually worked with the Cab Franc the last couple of years, and I was telling him, I was joking with him when he brought the wine over to try it, that his Piconi 24 is better than mine, so maybe he's not going to get the grapes anymore. But it's a wine to look
Cut
for.
him off.
The 24s are absolutely exceptional, and 24 is a good year for lots of different varietals. So you see the Riesling looking the way it does, the Cab Franc from the same vineyard is wonderful. So, you know, 2 disparate varietals showing really well means great vintage, I think. So
that's awesome. Hey, I knew we are going to talk extensively on about the Riesling. I was fascinating, and I had the little comp. I also anyway. So we're good to go now. I would like to move on the red. Let's stick with what you like to do. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's do that. Let's do
this
that.
is where I'm going next. I think this is the way to go next.
That's the way to go. That's Mira's favorite. Come on. Hey, Mira.
It's so good. That one.
I know, right?
It tasted so good today. It screams of both varietals, and they both work together in the right way. This all started in 2019 when I had an opportunity to pick Gewürztraminer and Cab Franc that were right beside each other at the what's now the Rice Fabian's winery.
Okay,
right there.
Ferox.
So
Ferox.
yeah. So he had Gewürztraminer that he hadn't picked yet in 1919. It was a super cool vintage. And he had Cab Franc, and we needed Cab Franc. And we need a little bit of Gewürztraminer too to sort of fill out a couple of blends at Marynissen, and we picked them on the same day. And we picked them on the same day. I said, well, you know, I've always wanted to do this co-ferment thing. Let's try this out. You know, what I always wanted to do was Cab Franc and Riesling, but you have to be able to line up the harvest date on those, and sometimes it's a little bit more challenging. So this one worked out, so we did it. And then in 2021, it worked out that we were able to do Merlot and Gewürztraminer really close together. It was an earlier harvest for both those varietals, and they're a little bit closer together. It was weird to have Cab Franc and Gewürztraminer. And that first year, that wine worked out. It sold well, I think, because of its uniqueness. I think the Merlot Gewürz sold well because people were like, I want to try it because that's weird, and then tried it, and it was really cool.
That's what we experienced. Yeah. That's when we discovered we had Marynissen in a feature, and we had that. So. Yeah. I mean, when I tasted it, I'm like, what is that? Come on here. So, and I tasted it, and I totally froze. I was like, actually, this is good.
Yeah.
So we pushed it in the feature.
It's so versatile too. Like, you know, it's like you can have it slightly chilled. You can have it at room temperature. You can have it with food, without
Chianti
food,
traditionally, right? Chianti traditionally was that blend of white and red, and those wines are fun and they're easy, you know, to drink, and they do pair well across a wide variety of things. And like I said, the goal at the beginning was always to find Cab Franc and Riesling, and so in 24 we're actually able to line up a younger block of Cabernet Franc and Riesling that was right next door to it. So this stuff is like grown only about, you know, like 30 feet away from each other. And it's Cab Franc and Riesling from the Grimsby Hillside Vineyard. So we're going to use a vineyard designation on it, but that's what this wine is. It's about 70-30. We picked it on the same day. We put about 30% Riesling grapes and 70% Cab Franc grapes into a couple of bins and fermented it out. And this has been my favorite version of what this is until this. And our branding for our lifestyle brand, which is some more experimental stuff. Like we have no Chardonnay, which is no sulfur, no yeast, no fining, no filtration, and a no Cab Franc. And those are the bottles there. So that's our lifestyle brand. And we have O, which is a sweet sparkling muscat, like a Moscato style, which is absolutely delicious. And we have Woe, which is our pet nat. And we found some really good success with that, being a little bit more fun or experimental in those, and taking away a little bit of the like, I don't know, we're not trying to elevate that style and that approach, trying to bring it to more consumers to have a better understanding of why we're approaching it. And they've all been, quite successful for us. But A is my favorite version of the white red blend, and it's delicious. I haven't had it again in a while, and it's delicious today.
It is really delicious. I mean, when the box arrived, I have to say that's the first bottle who came out of the box, and we tasted it the night of. There was such an excitement, like, holy shit, yes, that's the new version. Let's do it. And hey, you even did you do a little bit of a barrel aging in there as well? There's a tiny
so it goes into neutral for a short period of time.
Okay, just to give it a little bit of texture.
Yeah, and the volumes are smaller, so it's safer.
Yeah.
There
you go.
Well.
There you go. No, that is fantastic.
But yeah, none of it was new. I think that that sort of smokiness, maybe a little bit from yeast and a lot from the fruit. I did see a little bit of barrel, but there was no sort of real barrel that was added.
Yeah.
Short period of time in neutral.
I mean, a fun wine, non-pretentious, but it works. Sometimes I have an issue with these crazy thing because it looks fun on paper, but it doesn't work. Like, you taste it and you're like, no. Like, there's a lot of these kind of things. You're like, gosh, it doesn't make sense on the palate. This works. This is fun. And you can feel both varietals. Like, there's the bright Riesling, really, and inside of that cherry Black Forest cake of the Cap Franc. I mean, this is just so much fun. So yeah, I give it a 92 points, and I rarely score high these kind of experiments.
That funky stuff. I know.
It really just worked. It just freaking worked on the nose. It was awesome.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I appreciate it though too.
No. It worked.
We don't. Yeah, I mean, we do some of these things, and not everything makes it into a bottle. Just for the record,
I was talking to a few guys, and they said, "Carl, like, it's fun to talk about the one who works, but the many who don't work, we don't talk about it."
Well, we don't have to, right?
That's it, right?
This isn't, we're not always winning.
I remember my question was, how do you come up with these kind of ideas? Like, well, the one we're tasting who works right now, it's fun to talk about, but we don't talk about the dozens of doesn't work, and we're like, oh, nope. There you go. Okay, hey, let's jump on the other one who's a really, really fantastic value. It's the Cap Franc, the 22 Cap Franc. Right here. I mean, at that price point, it has to be in the running for my value wine of the year. It's like under $20, and it's Cap Franc. It's specific to the varietal. It's true to the varietal. It's balanced. There's everything I'm looking for when I look for a affordable wine. But this is, the texture. The texture is so impressive for a $19 wine. It's amazing. So now, are you ready to give your secret to the hundreds of listeners of Caroline?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you just have to own a really good piece of land that supports Cab Franc really well. The majority of that fruit comes from our own site. We replanted in 2017, 2018. And I would say that 22 was really the first year where we started to see the age be appropriate for making quality wines. It was, we were taking in more fruit from other places prior to 22, 23, 24. The majority of our white label Cab Francs coming from our site, and the guys who manage our vineyard do a great job, and the fruit always comes in right and balanced and delicious. And so, the secret is just being an okay winemaker and having great fruit, I guess. It's not a lot, and from a price point of view, I think Mira said it correctly. We've grown from about 5,500 cases of production to about 9,000 or 10,000. I think it's all on our value line, right? And making quality products effectively at those price points. So
where did Carl go?
Sorry, it's live, right? That's the joy of live. Someone is knocking at the door 1 time, 3 times. I'm like, okay, there you go. Anyway, I'm here.
I'll go see who that is.
That's okay. Okay, no, I think to me, and again, we just had that conversation earlier with the Franc Riesling. The price point makes a huge impact on that wine. I mean, and I'm a sucker for texture. I mean, sometimes for me, it's important to get some substance on the palate, and this wine, like that's what is really, really crazy. It's all good. It's the texture versus the length. And I mean, yes, it's from younger vines, but holy smoke, it leads me to the question of, is it the 22 vintage who were so well suited for Cab Franc, or it's purely the vineyard side? The vineyard side is just an absolute rock star for that varietal, and we can expect something like that on a yearly basis.
Yeah, so the vineyard side is an absolute rock star for that varietal. It really is. I think Niagara overall creates the opportunity for great Cab Franc every year. The site that we have, full ripeness is definitely achievable all the time. And it's just, I think that helps us maintain consistency. With that product, we work really, really hard to maintain consistency. The 24 was an absolute monster, and we had some 23 remaining, and there's some blending allowances, and we actually had to do that to sort of pull back 24, and same thing in 25, and we haven't fully figured out what to do. So right now our 25s are sitting in tank at 14.8% alcohol and just huge tannin and tons of fruit. And I think they're great wines, but I think what's important with those, and what Mitchell's recognized and what we understand about our consumers, is that consistency becomes a little bit more important. I don't want to have the up and down in my white label $18.95.
Well, that's the house style, right? That's what we call the house style. People know what to expect when they buy that 22, 25, 21. Doesn't matter. They're expecting something consistent.
It's got to be. It's got to be consistent. So we have those opportunities. We look for opportunities to make sure that we maintain consistency. You're going to see a little bit of up and down, but at 18.95 we want to be consistent, and I think that's what allows us, or forces us into maintaining that value proposition on that wine, and not sort of exceeding or changing what our approach is to the winemaking. So we pick at ripeness. We don't pick early. 25 was because when we went and tasted at 23.5, it didn't have the flavor profile that we wanted. So
the phenolic ripeness,
the phenolic development, and even the flavors that were in the grapes. And so, in 25, it took us to 25 bricks. It did. It's just what it is. So now we have to make sure that we didn't go too far, and we have to find a way to make sure we maintain consistency and balance. And that changes with sort of how we approach oak and how we blend at the end of it, and what vineyards we use, because we don't have to only use that Marynissen vineyard, but I just know that from the last year it was absolutely phenomenal. So. Oh, right. That wine too uses a little bit, about 25% of that fruit is flash détente, and that allows us consistency on an annual basis. So thermovinification flash détente, you heat the grapes to 80 degrees Celsius, you expose it to a vacuum, and it explodes the grapes. And so we blend that thermovin with fresh grapes in the primary fermentation, and it really creates a really consistent profile of both tannin and fruit expression year to year. Even in more challenging, less ripe years, we could still achieve the same consistent ripeness, and that's been really important for us. So there's a company called Nuance that rents that machine, and they'll drive it to your place, and you could use it for the day and
that's interesting.
Yeah, there's one There's a couple here, and I thought there was one running in BC, but maybe it's not running anymore.
Wow. Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Now, let me take you, because I like that. I think the value proposition was absolutely off the chart. Now, I want to quickly, we're going to run through because I have much, like there's other one, but I want to know, why do you call Shiraz?
I think it's a great question. I think it's a really important question. I think it's a very important question. And I only have one answer for you, and I can only be honest. Our licensee sales guy wanted a Shiraz to sell to his licensee clients.
There you go.
We were like, if we're going to make a white label Syrah, it's not going to be at that price point, and it's not going to be like, it's impossible. But we had Syrah, and he thought he had an opportunity, and we made the wine. We make Syrah every year, but normally it makes its way either into our Cab Syrah or into our Nanny's blend. And in that year, in 23, we actually got delivered more Syrah than we needed, and we made it all, and then had this good wine. And the guy said, well, I could sell it. And I said, okay, we're going to make you a Syrah that you could sell at this price point. And he said, perfect. But you have to name it Shiraz, because my customers want Shiraz. So we did it. And then I think that fell through for him. So we have this sort of really delicious, tasty wine in a bottle that, those sort of off ones that you don't have a plan for, don't always make it to the shelf easily, because having a conversation in the retail store is challenging. So having an opportunity to offer it to you guys, to offer it to your club members is a great way for us to move through a delicious inventory. So
yeah, no, totally. And especially with that price point, that's what absolutely like caught my eyes. I'm like, wait a minute. I knew I'm going to ask that question to you live. I knew it was like I need an answer on that one.
I could only give you the true answer on it. I think it's a great value. It's a really tasty wine. It's just it doesn't fit into our everyday plan for the winery, and there's no real plan to sort of continue that product further, right? So you have this opportunity now, and then so we make Platinum Syrah. Not necessarily from the same vineyard, sometimes from that same vineyard, but different approaches. And we make the Cabernet Syrah, and then oftentimes the Syrah makes it into our Nanny's blend, but not in the 2022 version.
No, because that's the next two wines that I want to talk about, because to me are the two of the rock stars of that. The Nanny's blend, which is a 55-45 Merlot Malbec, which is a blend that we don't see often, just these two grapes varietal. This is two components of the Meritage, two components of the Bordeaux blend, but standalone, these two varietals, really rarely, especially when you're close to a split of 50-50. So that's the Nanny's blend. And the other one, it's the 22 Cab Syrah that we're going to talk. Let's start with the Nanny's blend, because I love the structure. The Malbec definitely brings a lot to the equation, brings a lot to the blend. On the nose, definitely the tannic structure as well. This is a fantastic wine. I really enjoyed that. Tell me a little bit about how that came about. Like, I mean, do you guys grow Malbec?
So we don't grow Malbec. And 2022, there was some winter damage in Niagara. Right. So the Cab Franc that we were able to harvest needed to go to our white label for the most part, right? And oftentimes we're looking for the Nanny's blend needs to be a wine of quality, made from the Bordeaux varietals for the most part, but Syrah included as well. Now, it's a historical blend for the winery, and they did the same thing. They used to have like Marynissen. The Marynissens used to own a smaller vineyard, not at the same property, and that was planted to Merlot and Syrah. And in 2022, when we went out to look for red varietals, we ended up being able to secure some Malbec from Legends, which is right on the lake. And so they had really great survival. We got some Merlot from them that year, and some Syrah from them that year, or some Malbec from them that year. then we had a little bit of Merlot on our own site, but that was one of the ones that was damaged by a late winter freeze. And so, with what we had in the cellar, the question was, is it going to be good enough? And with Merlot and Malbec, it was a little bit of a change from what we had normally done, but we thought consistent enough from a quality point of view and from an expression point of view to just get in and put that wine into a bottle. And I'm tasting it now. I'm pretty excited that we did. I think there's a lot of really cool, Malbec brings this really neat watermelon and sometimes some sort of meatiness and earthiness, and the same thing from the Merlot. So there's a real great complexity in this wine. And Annie's blend has always been, in our approach to it, has always been a little more, I don't know, we don't really use these terms anymore, but it's the best way I could describe it, a little more old world. So we're not super clean. We're not perfect fruit. That's not what we're looking for when we make Annie's blend. We're looking for the sort of most complex, best balanced expression, little more old world in expression. That's what those wines always were. And that's what we've sort of tried to keep within this. In fact, sometimes a little bit of Brettanomyces might sneak into a blend.
Okay,
like
here you
this.
go.
And
the VA, right? Like in the slight, and sometimes I have that conversation with Richard De Silva all the time. And Richard always say, a little bit of VA in the wine, it's not something bad. It brings it brings complexity, it brings personality. And I mentioned it in my taste note just a slight bit. And I love that a lot. Now, we taste the same wines over a week all the time. Because first and foremost, I don't drink. And second, there's always a bunch of bottles open. So we always taste wines over a week. This has been 5 days on that Nanny's blend open. It's absolutely shining right now. The finish has developed a white pepper who lingers forever. The texture is sensational. I mean, for $30, $27.95, this is a wonderful, wonderful wine. Holy smokes. It was good when we opened it, and 5 days later, absolutely rocket.
I'm always I always gravitate to more of that style in things that I like personally hedonically prefer. Obviously, when we look at white label, that's purity of fruit, and we're looking for consistency, and not a lot of mistakes can make it into that white label bottle of Cab Franc. And I'm not saying that any of the wines that make it into Nanny's blend are mistakes, but they're more complex, more interesting wines, and we can still use them in that blend. And I love the freedom of that blend, and how Mitchell works through the cellar to get to there. Oftentimes you talk about, you take your platinums and you choose those barrels first, and then you choose your next value second, and it's a full declassification. We do a little bit of that. We take a very holistic approach to this, though, because we know stylistically Nanny's blend has that room for that complexity. And can we find those things that are maybe elevated in VA that we don't want to use over here, but we can fit into there? So, it's awesome that you picked it up, and it's awesome that you also like it in the same vein. And that's the style of wine that we're going for when we're producing Nanny's blend is a little bit, I don't know, funkier, a little bit. It's less about purity. It's more about complexity and enjoyment.
When you get your hand and you get excited of a 55-45 Merlot Malbec, that's mean you're a little bit of a geek to start with. And when I got my nose in it and I got the little VA, I'm like, fucking right. Yes, this is my friend right there. I knew. And like I said, you mentioned the old world. Like a little bit mossy, a little bit that savoriness coming in, but that dark cassis, a little smokiness. And by the way, smokiness, we can't mention smokiness about a wine from the Okanagan because people go, "Oh my God, it was next to a fire," and it drives me up the wall.
I think this, for sure. The smokiness in this wine is a little bit of reduction that we didn't perfectly fix, and it evolves wonderfully in the bottle. And like you say, I think it's the reason why 5 days later this wine's still fresh. It's still a little bit more reductive in its winemaking and reductive in its expression. It gives it more life for a longer period of time. It's going to give it a little bit more life in the cellar. Most of these wines, I I drink them before we bottle them, and then maybe sometime shortly after, but I don't get a chance to revisit everything all the time. So it's really fun to do these, and I'm really excited with where that wine's at.
Oh, and it shows so well right now. Like nailed it. Mira, I was at 92 plus with this with the Nanny's blend, at least 92 for sure.
Oh, let me get your this here. Nanny's blend 92 plus. You got it.
Yeah. And that was just right on the verge of that rock star level. I mean, this is so cool. That's the one I think we're putting a focus on the full email tomorrow. The Nanny's blend, one of my favorite of the whole lineup. Let's move on to the Cab Syrah, because I can talk about the Nanny's blend all night long. And so the Cab Syrah here. There you go. Where is my bottle? Right here. No. Anyway.
The Cab Syrah, I mean, it's the one on the left here. It's one of the ones I think we have member pricing this week.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, really
amazing
cool.
Value. And then they're knocking off even a little bit more off the price point. It's really fantastic value. And
so
we all know
quick story about the Cab Syrah, Marc. So early Carl's Wine Club, there was the middle of the pandemic. There was a focus group that they did in the Okanagan. Growers, distributors, winery owners, winemaker, all of the aspect of the industry. And the question is, we were like around 100 people in the room. And the question was, what should be the blend of the South Okanagan that we need? We would like to have something that we all known for. And I was pounding the table. I was like, I think what we should do, it's a Cab Syrah blend. These two grapes from a warm vintage, these two grapes together. And I rarely see that. No one wanted to listen to me at that conference, I swear.
Well, because they were like, do you know how hard it is to grow Syrah around here? And we're like, no, but do you know how good it is to drink Syrah around here?
Yeah, really.
And here we are. So you have Cab Sauv, Syrah, Cab Franc in order, I think, in the split, if I'm not mistaken. And what a great result. I freaking love that. These three grapes together for a wine under $30. And I come back with value often because it's very important. And I think it's important for the purchaser as well to have wine who over-deliver their price point. But when you get these three, especially the Sauv and the Syrah blended together, for me, it's a chord. It's everything that I'm looking for a big red. So cheers to that. I really like that.
No, I appreciate that. I think for us, we make a Platinum Series Syrah. We don't necessarily do it every year. We have to have access to grapes. The year has to fit it. But the vineyard where we get the majority of our Syrah from really produces wonderfully fruity, soft, great expression in the Syrah consistently. What we want to do with that wine is bring some power. And for us in Niagara, the power doesn't come from Syrah, but Syrah brings the best aromatics and the most wonderful sort of mid-palate roundness and richness for the grapes that we get. We've seen big Syrah and we've worked with some that looks a little bit different. Oftentimes it's a barrel selection that leads us into the platinum decisions. Maybe we get a little bit more concentration in some of the barrels, and then we say, okay, this is going to be good enough this year. But every year that component in this Cabernet Syrah blend is sort of works perfectly. How much Cab Sauv or how much Cab Franc we use or where those come from, that's sort of determining the sort of finish style, and that'll change from vintage to vintage. It's not a wine that we're necessarily concerned with, like I said, about consistency, but rather a baseline quality that's elevated. And it's been our most, I think, successful release in that price point at the winery. The Nanny's blend and the Cab Syrah sort of compete all the time. And like I said, a little bit of Syrah makes it into the Nanny's blend sometimes, but those are those funky Syrah barrels that maintain their reduction and do that thing that Syrah does on the reduced side. And I can use those in Nanny's blend and it fits perfectly. But the Syrah that we choose and the cabs that we choose for the Cab Syrah often are those really fruity, really rich, really explosive berry wines. Like that's what we're looking for in that decision-making process. So.
I mean, for me, the highlight of that wine is that charcoal-like minerality, like that graphite line through the middle, but lingers all the way to the end and develop until almost like a white pepper. Also at the end, but there's that graphite of the Cap Sauv it's really highlighted in that wine personally.
Yeah, that's the 22. I could see that. So we're looking for that elevated experience when we're choosing the wines for Cap Syrah, and we're looking for the complex, fun experience for the heritage Danny's blend. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's like roundness on the mid palate from the Syrah. Nailed it, absolutely nailed it. Another 92 points, and again, like at under $30, this is freaking fantastic. I think that was Mira. Mira really liked that one. She was asking for more.
Oh
so
yeah,
when she's at. Yeah. When she asked for more, I'm like, okay. So Mira, read the wine. It's not about the score. It's about how many.
It's not a score. It's how much.
Yeah, give me more. I'm like, holy shit, did I underscore that at 92? Because she's like, give me more. So, hey, the barrel program for the Cap Syrah. How do you approach? Is it more of a recipe on that vintage, or you play on every vintage barrel depending?
Yeah, I mean, we buy new and once filled barrels every year to replace stock that we're getting rid of. And then we know an approximate volume of total wine that we're going to need aged 16 months across the entire portfolio. So that's like Nanny's, Cap Syrah, Cap Franc, Cap Sauv. For all of the products, we say, okay, we need, let's say it's 18,000 liters. So we put about 22,000 liters into barrel and then declassify out of those barrels. The program is Syrah, how many barrels are we putting down? The answer is 8. So out of 8, we're going to do 2 new, 2 ones filled and the rest in neutral. And then we finish our aging. And when we finish aging, or throughout the aging process, we taste, make notes on the barrel or make notes in our books and go back and, is it the same as it was before? Okay, great. And then we get to blending, and, blending is just this, sort of huge amount of time where you're trying different combinations of all of them to sort of fit into what you want stylistically. And, is it good enough to make that expression? Are we cutting more? Are we making more this year because we can, and it puts a little bit less risk on the future. So that's it. So there's no specific thing. You're going to have new and used French and American. We don't like, we love having some pretty good components of American in our Cap Franc. That Syrah is going to see predominantly French just because that's our preference with what that fruit or how that fruit in wine normally shows. And so, French barrels and everything's 14 to 16 months. Depends when we get it down in the winter. If we're fast enough to get it before the snow falls, then we'll get a couple of extra months on the other side. And if we're not, then we put it down in January, February. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Let's finish up quickly with the wine that Julie was. She gave us She gave the members $15 off the bottle on the Platinum Merlot. I mean, so this is an incredible price at $30 for that wine from the 2020 vintage. I know you shake your head, right? Like, I mean,
I'm gonna have to order it myself. No, honestly, we made 100 cases of this. 2020 vintage was the most spectacular vintage I've ever been a part of, and that includes 12 and 10 and 12. I think 20 right across the board was the best. Merlot expressed so well, and the thing that tasting this wine tonight, the thing that I see is that it needs 3 years before it's going to express properly.
But you see the potential in the texture. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a sucker for texture. If you show me that this wine will develop with a great texture and a good mid palate, I mean, I know that thing's going to trickle down like in the structure. So
I think it's a little bit closed right now, which is wonderful. And I think 2020 is at this on our shelf is nearly $50, but 2020 is at this price point. Shouldn't they be drinkable? I've opened a couple; they taste great. I sold the majority of my Piconi Cab Franc already, and every time I open it, it's getting a little bit better. So 2020 has just been a great vintage to sort of get back to. And what happened was, we had the 100 cases, and we sold some, and then the LCBO said, "Oh, we'd like to take 50 cases." We sent it to them, and then about 6 months later, they said, "Well, this wine isn't selling. We're sending it back to you." And so we were like, "Perfect, please send it back to us." Right? So
us, right?
yeah. And yes. I think it's great. We're like, we could sell this all day long in the shop, and then this opportunity came up, and honestly, to find new customers and to get this into people's hands to experience what Marynissen can do, it's easy to give that discount at this point. We looked at that wine and we're like, doesn't matter if it's on our shelf for 5 years, it's probably better after that anyways. And then this comes up, so we're just like, if it all goes, it also, I think it finds a better home to be consumed, or at least resting in someone else's cellar than necessarily us holding on to it.
I love that story. We snuck it right off the LCBO's undiscerning hands.
And one thing that is unusual for 2020 is the 13.5. I mean, I see more of the 14.2, 14.3.
Yeah.
And that stood out to me. And sometimes, especially in BC, you need to be careful what's on the label, but I'm pretty sensitive of the alcohol level. 13.5 is pretty bang on.
So,
and this is surprising for 2020.
Yeah, so the two vineyards that this is comprised of are both very old vineyards. Dan Stauch hadn't flipped the majority of his vineyards, so we were still getting Merlot from his old vines, and the rest of the Merlot is from our own site, and those Merlot vines were almost as old as the Cab Sauv that was planted beside it. And so in 2020, that perfect vintage, old vines don't accumulate sugar in the same way. So, having access to those two vineyards was awesome for maintaining balance, I think. I agree with you. Lots of stuff ended up much higher. But if you taste this wine, what I love about Merlots in Niagara, or my favorite Merlots, 2007, when I made some with Bruce, and in 2010, sometimes you get lucky and Merlot is ripe when it still has acid. If you don't push it too far and you taste it and the flavors are there, you can pick it when it still has acidity, and acidity plus tannin gives you the most amount of longevity. So we don't need that alcohol, right? On the other side, 13.5, I think this wine's 13.9 or 14 in reality, but but it's really imbalanced.
Freshness. Though my point was the freshness is very impressive.
Yeah, there's so much acid in this wine.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's picking grapes at ripeness. We're not concerned. Like, sometimes I'm worried about acidity, but mostly I'm worried about phenolic ripeness and flavor when we're making harvest decisions. And with old vines, sometimes you get extra time without the sugar accumulation, and that was what we had here.
Wow, amazing! And hey, you mentioned the Ferox vineyard earlier. One of my very top Merlot that I tasted from the 2020 vintage, it's from Fabian at Ferox. If you had a chance and you see Cubby, try to get us
to get in and try some. I know, I haven't even been by the new place. It's the renovations, and I should get by there for sure.
Yeah. They're coming to Burgundy with us in June. So nice. Fabian and Stephanie are joining us for a Burgundy trip with some of our members. So
that's great.
Yeah. Great people. Love them a lot. So Marc, thank you so much for joining us. I don't know, Mira, do you have anything else? I mean, we can be sitting here for another 2.5 hours.
I just want to say a big thanks. I mean, it's super late where you are, Marc, and you were so generous with your time, with your expertise, with your stories. It's amazing. Mitch McCurdy is, as you said, took over the reins a number of years ago, but with you working hand in hand. And so we're excited to meet Mitch at some point too. I know we've had Mitch on the show.
Yeah, Mitch has been on. He's on a well-deserved vacation this week, and he's getting some skiing in before things get too warm. So I'm excited for him, and hopefully he gets back nice and refreshed. But really happy to talk about Marynissen's wines, about the work that Mitch does and that we do together. And big thank you to you guys for being as loud and enthusiastic as you are about the Canadian wine industry. We can't have enough of you guys, but you do an awesome job, and it's been great working with you. And hopefully we'll get that collab.
That's what I wanted to mention. I wanted to hint it before we leave, because we're not done with you. No, we are not done. I
hope not, because lots of stories.
I can see a full month of 1 week for each of the collab or something like that. Mira and I think almost on a daily basis in the last week.
I know.
Figure out the best way to do it. I'm excited. So.
You guys are wine nerds. I mean, Carl's Wine Club, let's face it, that's what we are. We're really into the wine. And when you have something like collab, you have these are just absolutely passionate winemakers who are there. They're not there for any other reason than the fact that they are
it's true. They just
passionate about what they're doing. So it's so exciting. Yeah. And we do this crazy thing lately with Carl's Wine Club. We go on Zoom on, we call it Tasting Thursday. And then we're actually on Zoom. So you can get to meet some of our very amazing members across the country. Mike is often tuning in there. And then we get to ask those questions live. It's a little bit more intimate. And then the really crazy stories come out, don't they? Because we're not... streaming it for everyone.
There's some very colorful language. Usually for 3 hours, and I don't know. It's a lot of fun. We have like a little over 40 different different location across the country last time. Awesome. So yeah, Marc,
it's a fun way.
I really appreciate you, man, and we're going to finish this week with Marynissen. We're going to get back to the table, and we're going to talk about a full collab later down the stretch. Okay,
looking forward to it. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you so much, Marc. We really appreciate you. Take care. Have a great night.
You have a good one.
Amazing. Wow, such a great conversation. He must be so tired. It's so late out there.
I know. Sometimes I forgot. Sometimes I forget. I'm like, fuck, I need to go pick up my son. And I forgot that it's like 11, almost 10 o'clock out there. I'm like, holy smokes.
Yeah. Stacy and Jeff, we should have Marc on Tasting Thursday. And you know what? Because they have collab, there's like 12 other winemakers. So it's kind of cool. Like, it'll be a very interesting night with lots of different stories. We'll have to find a way to, make sure we hear them all somehow. But very cool what they do there. And you know what I do have to do in 10 minutes? I'm meeting with Jenny because she is also has experience with this terrible thing that poor Carl has had to deal with, which is that Carl loves pizza. He loves pasta. He loves bread. He loves croissants. And guess what? I found out last year that he's very celiac. So I'm meeting with a member right now in a few minutes to get all the tips on.
Well, make sure that you guys have a glass of wine. Hey, because Mira,
I have
to say right now
in front of me. I got lots of wine.
I have to say right now, I need to bring you Nanny's blend. I've tasted them all. After it's been open for a while now, Nanny's blend is absolutely freaking stunning right now. So you need to share the Nanny's blend. We need to do a full post across the board on Nanny's blend tomorrow. This wine at $27 at $27.95, including tax. It should be illegal. It should be illegal. It's fucking nuts. It's so good. 55% Merlot, 45% Malbec. This wine is a stud. So good. So good.
I agree. And I can't wait to taste it.
Right now,
it's been open, what, 5 days?
5 days now. And
so that tells us it's got lots of life
wow,
in it, and
this is my
well-made
wine of the
wine.
night tonight, like hands
Amazing.
down. So
Amazing.
freaking
I think
good.
Jeff tasted that one. He was talking about that in our group chat.
No,
By
not
the way,
that one.
since
This
Jeff
is the new one. I think Jeff tasted 2020 or 2019. Like Jeff had an older vintage.
New release, but
Glen.
same idea. Jeff and Stacy are on. Anyone else that's coming to visit us in BC for our touring weekends this summer, we've got a couple in August and a couple in September. We would like to do some varietal marathons leading up to those. You know why? Because it is so much more fun to have, you know, a dinner by the lake after a full day of all-inclusive touring with a chef making you a nice dinner. It's so much more fun when you have, let's say, like 100 Canadian wines from coast to coast to, you know, pair with that dinner and see which one you like the most. It's a sensory exploration. Ooh, Mike's coming in September. That's amazing. Yeah, we'll have to time it. I don't know. Is it the long weekend you're coming, Mike, or is it later? So what we want to do is we want to make sure we time some of these varietal marathons that we want to do with those weekends, because then you end up with things like this. Look at this picture from the Chardonnay. That was the most epic one with 112 Chardonnays. It's, you know, it's like you only live once, and to be able to taste that many examples of world-class Canadian Chardonnay all side by side, it's pretty special. And the August 1st weekend that Jeff and Stacy are coming in happens to be my birthday weekend. So I really want a varietal marathon leading up to that one, because we have been known to do lobster and things like that. So that will be an epic weekend. Anyway, we need your input on what the varietal marathon should be. Because, and also I think we're going to do the structure a little bit differently. So split them up by region or something like that and have it over, let's say, a week of daily lives or something like that, just so we can get to know the winemakers, the, you know, going live for 7 or 8 hours. I mean, there's only one person on the planet that does that, and that's this guy. This guy. So yeah. But the rest of us, you know, humans, normal tasters, you know, having more than 30 at a time is sometimes, you know, your palate just can't handle it. So
Mike,
okay.
Mark was mentioning, I just had a sip of the Merlot, Platinum Merlot, the one with $15, the one that the LCBO sent back. Mark was mentioning about keeping another 3-4 years, right? So I just had a sip. This is 6 days open, okay? And it's starting to open. It's really starting to open. The tannin are starting to tame down. And so, yeah, I think he was bang on. He was right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that Merlot at $30 with $15 off, it should be illegal as well. Fuck, these guys are crushing it. This is awesome. More I taste these wines, more I love them.
So I agree.
A little bit of a highlight for me tonight, okay? Obviously the A or Hay or whatever.
This one, yeah.
Yeah, the Hay 20, the Riesling Franc is so much fun. I love that. This is a highlight. The Nanny's blend, insane. I love it so much. And the Platinum Merlot as well. Open for 6 days now. Oh, the Picon, also the Picone Riesling.
Yes, so good.
Really good.
Agree.
Really good.
I agree.
So, yeah.
No, I have the Picon and Picon Riesling and the Platinum Riesling side by side. You're so right. They're completely different. Like if you're looking for a fun side by side, you're having sausage night, you're having raclette night, you're having just Riesling night, Riesling and poutine, actually. Riesling and poutine night. That might be something to try. These two side by side are fantastic as an example of how different Riesling can be, but also like such great value. Everything across the board that we've had from Marynissen. Oh my God, amazing value.
Oh, especially that Picon, like that Picon Riesling at what, like $18? These white labels are insane.
Oh my gosh, shut up. Let me see. Okay, let's see. Picon Riesling, $22.95.
$22.95.
$92.
Okay,
92 points, 22.95. Okay, so like that's including tax.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like it's phenomenal. So I think we're going to put together for the morning like the value pack. You know, where do you get the most?
Or let's do the highlight pack. The highlight pack.
Or the highlight pack. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like
with the 90s blend, the Cab Syrah, the Picon Merlot, the Picon Riesling.
Yeah, 2 of each maybe. So so you don't have huge regrets.
And maybe with the hay, maybe with the hay, we do a 92 points or better pack.
Hey, that's totally doable. So I'm going to put the link if you haven't seen it. Everybody's getting the collector pricing this week. We have invited many of you up to the collector tier. And so this is the link in the comments here. Marynissen wines this week. Boom, boom. So yeah, check it out if you haven't yet. And if you have, now you know what's on its way to you if you've already placed your order. And I know a lot of times people hear the winemaker talk and they're like, we should have gotten more of that one. So if you want to put extra order in, it's totally good. They will just combine it if it hasn't left the winery yet. But yeah, they're doing an amazing job too. Julie at the winery is shipping these out really fast. And yeah, we're really, really happy with everything that's happening here. And hopefully we'll get to have another one of these soon with the collab crew. Like Marc was saying, a whole nother schwack of passionate winemakers. Always wait till Wednesday. Yeah, Mike knows the drill because you get to kind of learn which ones are real standouts, especially from the winemaker. Like we didn't really know that story with the LCBO sending back the what was it, the Merlots, right? Yeah. That's why we get such a heck of a deal. Sometimes you get a little bit suspicious. You're like, why is there a deal?
Funny because we asked Julie, right, is there anyone we'd like to do the members pricing? And she sent a list with the Merlot. And we look at it like, we had to email her back. Do you really mean $15? Is it what you mean? She's like, yeah. We're like, what?
We're like $1.50 or $15? And she's like, no, really, $15. Like it came back from the LCBO and we love what you guys do. And we want to, get to know your members. And I was like, wow, these guys have the right idea. So they're going to get into your cellars, you guys. And then you won't be able to stop reordering. That's the thing. I'm warning you now, but
yeah, exactly. Okay, I guess I have to go pick up the boys.
Yeah, that would be great. And I'm going to go talk about celiac kitchens with Jenny.
Perfect. There you go.
Monica recommends some sweet wines. You know what? One of the 2 Rieslings in the Marynissen pack is on the sort of sweeter side. Very good, vibrant acidity though still.
Yeah, vibrant acidity, a little bit like 24 gram of residual sugar. Yep. That's.
But you know what? The when people say that about the sweet wines, I say Nova 7 from Benjamin Bridge. It's like the only Canadian wine from an independent Canadian winery that's available in all the provinces, and it's on the sweeter side, and it's just like a fantastic white wine. I just love it. Have a great night, Mike. Great to see you, the Average Wine Enthusiast on YouTube. Have a great night, everyone. We will see you again tomorrow for our daily lives. If you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe because we are trying to get to 1,000 followers.
Send it to your friends. Bring the wine joy, the Canadian wine joy. Join us on YouTube. Click the bell. Join us.
Yay.